Wife are expected to board a helicopter any moment heading to New York City to face charges related to their alleged involvement in narcoterrorism. The 4 counts include narcoterrorism, conspiracy, cocaine importation, conspiracy, possession of machine guns and destructive devices, and conspiracy to possess machine guns and destructive devices. Joining us.
The whole thing about narcoterrorism now is that narcoterrorism that includes the drugs, right? Just want to be sure of that. Like, does it include the drugs?
Now is Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett. Greg, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate your legal expertise here. Take us through the charges and what will the prosecution focus on?
Well, this proves, I think, Tommy, the long arm of American law extends well beyond our borders. And the U.S. has ample legal authority to capture and arrest a known fugitive under federal criminal indictment for, as you point out, drug trafficking, money laundering, all kinds of conspiracy charges. And it happens regardless of who it is. You know, a wanted narco-terrorist is not shielded by his status as the head of state. The U.S. recognizes no legal immunity under international law for illegitimate rulers like Maduro.
Okay. All right. So basically, it don't matter who you are, where you are, what you're doing, as long as America recognizes that you're participating in illegal activity, we can come and get you, especially if it affects America and the citizens of the country. I can agree with that. I can agree. That makes sense. And that is something I would say I agree with.
Our courts have previously endorsed that position when Noriega was captured back in 1989. And here, Maduro maintained power in an obviously crooked election, the last one in 2024. 70% of the vote went to his opponent.
From what I'm hearing, I think a lot of people believe that this is strictly based upon the capture of Venezuela's oil, the oil resources. That's what I think the majority of people believe, that America is just looking to have a regime change so they can capture Venezuelans' oil. But if you have been, I guess, if you had your ear to the ground, you would know that it's more than that. Since Trump's first term, he already, established that Venezuela was a major import of drugs into America. And it's not him actually who put out the indictment or the warrant for Maduro's arrest. I think it was the Biden administration that actually put out the arrest warrant, but they never followed through on actually getting him into custody.
Gonzalez, neither Trump nor Biden viewed him as the elected head of state, Maduro that is, but instead as, a fugitive outlaw who ran a drug cartel that poisoned Americans. And, there's no treaty or legal document or valid law that prevents our military from going into Venezuela and arresting Maduro by force. Nobody seemed to complain when Obama used military force in places like Somalia and Yemen and Pakistan, obviously Iraq and Afghanistan, Libya. And the same people who cheered that are now, condemning Trump for doing exactly what Obama did and to some extent what Biden did.
I would consider that very hypocritical. Very hypocritical. If Biden, Obama went about things the same way and they captured, locked people up, especially foreign government, people participating in foreign government, presidents of different countries, it would be very hypocritical to go against Trump. But I think one of the most important things is fentanyl. I've personally, I think that fentanyl, the destruction that fentanyl has caused, I've never seen nothing like it before. I understand. I was born in the 80s, lived through the 90s, but this fentanyl is something different, man. I've personally known people who've passed, young people who've passed from fentanyl within the last couple of years. It is a problem, it is far out of hand.
You know, Greg, I'm reading from the superseding indictment itself, and to your point, it says just on literally the third paragraph that Maduro sits atop a corrupt, illegitimate government that for decades has leveraged government power to protect and promote illegal activity, including drug trafficking.
I guess it's not. I guess they do have a point of them not going in, looking for him based upon his illegitimate presidency. I don't think those are necessarily the charges. He was released to the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, so it seems like it's more specifically about the drugs coming into the country, and I think that's a good charge. I think so.
So when we hear from Democrat Congress members saying that this was a illegal activity, and we know there are the specific charges, the 4 charges that Tommy outlined for us, but this also paints a picture that suggests that not only did they have the right to go after him and arrest a indicted narco trafficker, but yet it paints the picture that it was specifically sitting atop that illegitimate government that justifies the administration's actions, but yet the Democrats call it illegal, and even some are pointing to the Article 2, Paragraph 4 of the UN Charter that pertains to the sovereignty of other countries.
That's my issue too. Like, what would be the problem with going after somebody who's importing drugs into our country that's actually ending the lives of American citizens? Me personally, I think that the American citizens are the most important people in this country. They come first. So why would you be in opposition of getting somebody, bringing somebody in to have their day in court, for what they're responsible for? If they're responsible for bringing poison into the country and, flooding the country with fentanyl, and he's the leader of it, I think that makes the most sense because, we're trying to at least stop people from overdosing. I've heard it's been over 1 million people that's died over fentanyl in the last decade.
Listen, it's called Connect Team. And
I really got to get the YouTube YouTube Premium. I'm about to be done with this. You're right.
The UN Charter is not worth the paper it's written on. Its only good use is at the bottom of a birdcage. Trump did not need permission from Congress or the UN to act. His authority is inherent in Article 2, Section 2 of the Constitution.
So he didn't necessarily need authority or inform the Congress about his actions. And me personally, I think that's the best way to go about it, because they gonna leak it. If he would have went into Congress and be like, listen, this is what we're about to do. We're about to go get Maduro out of Venezuela. We're about to make these moves right here. Somehow, some way, the American government that's supposed to be in our best interest, that information is going to find Maduro, and he's going to elude arrest.
Indeed, presidents have long taken military action over the last 200 years on their own to protect American citizens, to defend national security without consulting Congress. So, the predictable condemnation from Democrats, I think, is more hysterical and driven by politics, but not law. I've heard some say, the War Powers Resolution That resolution in 1973 is not a prohibition on a president. It is a notification requirement, and that's about it. And beyond that, and Griff, I heard you talking about this earlier today when we were chatting, you know, Trump can rely on the AUMF, the Authorization for Use of Military Force. Congress passed it a week after 9/11. It gives a president the unilateral power to capture or eliminate terrorists, which would include narco terrorists like Maduro. So, you know, force.
The spread of fentanyl, like the spread of narcotics in the community, you know, people would be like, people will be like, oh, okay, you know, I got to do what I got to do. I got to make bread, but let it fall in the hands of your loved ones. Let it fall in the hands of your children. I just heard a story recently that a kid was this guy who was on TikTok, and he said his younger brother actually was nervous about something he got caught up in. So one of his friends suggested that he take a Percocet. He took the Percocet, and he ended up passing away in the back seat with his parents driving. Young kid, teenager. That's just one of many, many stories about what's going on. You know, what's going on with this, you know, this fentanyl problem that we have in America. It's really hurting people. It's really ending people, young people, older people. You know, I can understand, like, you want to have your recreational fun. I don't necessarily agree with it, but you know, I don't want that fun to unalive you.
Where the law is on the side of this president for acting as he did. And, you know, I think the template, you know, we've seen this movie before, was Panama in.
Wait, hold on. Was Maduro really in a Nike Tech? Was he in the Tech? What was he in a Nike YN uniform? That's funny. When I see that early on online, they say he was in the Nike Tech. I think he was.
1989.
I thought it was AI.
And Noriega was convicted and sent to the Hooskow. I think Maduro is destined for the Supermax in Colorado, which is known as the Alcatraz of the Rockies.
Greg, thank you so much for joining us with your expertise, your legal expertise. Griff just read a little bit from the indictment. I want to do that as well because conspiracy is a big part of this, multiple conspiracy charges. And it says that Nicolás Maduro is at the forefront of that corruption and is partnered with his co-conspirators to use his illegally obtained authority and the institutions he corroded to transport thousands of tons of cocaine into the United States. I mean, the indictment goes on much further, 25 pages, talking about.
You got to think about it. If you get caught, you get caught with 1 ton. You get caught with 1 ton in America. You going under the jail. You going Supermax 80X. You going to 80X. Why should anybody else be able to do that? It don't make any sense. You get caught with a ton of that booger sugar or that Fenny. You going under the jail, and then now the fentanyl is classified as a weapon of mass destruction. Forget about it, bro. Just go get a job at McDonald's, man.
The different people that have been involved in this, including his wife, his son, and another man named Hector Russensford Guerrero Flores, who is believed to be very high up in Nicaragua. Your thoughts on the conspiracy angle of this, the number of parties, and how that'll be addressed?
Oh, boy. You know, the number of parties conceivably could expand exponentially because just about everybody in his government was involved in this grand conspiracy of, you know, looting the government and profiting off of, narco-terrorism.
It's crazy.
And, you know, this dates back all the way to Maduro's predecessor, Hugo Chavez. When he died, Maduro took over. And, it was more of the same. Our government.
It's funny thing. I looked up Maduro's net worth, and it said it don't is undisclosed. But then I seen $2 million. They got 50 million on his head. How's he only worth $2 million? I think he worth like upward between 1 and 10 billion. Definitely between 1 and 10 billion dollars that his net worth is. People don't understand. I don't think people really understand and realize the money that's involved in this whole situation, let alone the oil, let alone the actual drugs, but the money that him and his people, his team, are taking in is absolutely asinine. Trust and believe it.
Has been investigating those involved in the paper trail for more than a decade. And, particularly the transfer of funds, into shell corporations and the money hidden overseas, and the money laundering in the extreme. And, I suspect they have the goods on them. There may be some plea deals with other defendants, and I find it interesting.
Of course, people going to be snitching and ratting. Left and right. People are going to be snitching and ratting when it comes to this. Everybody going to take a plea deal. Everybody going to try to cop out. Everybody going to rat, trust, and believe, because it's hitting the fan right now. It's really seriously hitting the fan. So I want you guys to take that into consideration. Man, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I know his trial is going to be, it's going to be crazier than OJ. That's a fact. It's going to be crazier than OJ because, when you really roll out and think about the devastation of what his actions caused, you can say what you want. You can say that America had a part to play in the situation, which I would love to see. I want to see on both sides who's the real players in this situation, because I don't think it's just him. I know for a fact it's not just him. I want to see all the players get exposed in this situation, because it's deep right now. It's really, really, really deep. And it's really a sight to be seen. This is going to be one of the highlights of Trump's presidency. Without any doubt, him catching Maduro, and actually helping the people of Venezuela, because I've seen a lot of people in the streets of Venezuela. This is not nothing new. We've been talking about Venezuela since Trump's first administration. Seeing what's really going on in Venezuela, mainly the inflation, people eating out the back of garbage trucks, walking down the street, eating out the back of garbage trucks, and it's devastating. And I hope this could bring, some type of peace and prosperity and help to the Venezuelan people. This is real. This is as real as it can get. This is as real as it is. So, if you have any responses, if you don't agree to what I'm saying, you could definitely leave a comment, like, share, subscribe, hit me up, and I'm definitely going to spin back on you. So for now, peace and blessings. I'm out.